Today I'm with Sage, and Sage is one of my mentoring students focused on the automation work. And I'm excited to talk about his journey today because he came from a job and he wanted to learn how to increase his automation skills. And now he has already booked his first clients, he's getting great results. And we're just going to talk about his journey today, and he's really worked hard for it. So I'm excited to dive into that story. Hey, Sage, really glad that we could join today. Why don't we just kick off by just tell everyone a little bit about yourself, a bit of your background, like how you kind of came to me and what got you interested in everything.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Gavin. Great to have you here. And just in terms of my background, I have been started with an economics background, first generation immigrant, currently in Vancouver, Canada.
Mm.
And packed my bags, came here 3 years ago for a better life. And started here my journey as a student, then moved on to started working at a marketing agency where I kind of got the gist of business and how I want to be a part of it, but didn't know the correct strategy or the
Mm.
correct mentorship to go after. So learned from a few people there, moved on to a tech role as a project manager with Addy, which is a prop tech company. And I felt like there was something missing. So about 3 months ago, I'm 25 years old. And 3 months ago, I decided I want to pursue a different path in life, which is entrepreneurship and
Mm.
my own business. So that's when I was knocking doors and trying to get in touch with people who have done it, achieved it, and I can learn from.
Mm.
That's where I was introduced to you um, from just researching on one of our common friends, and
Mm.
also seeing that you've been doing so well in the automation space. So I reached out to you, started this mentorship program together. And since then, I was able to quit my job full time. Now it's been about 4 months since I have started this business, and we've been working ever since. But
Yeah.
that's kind of like the background.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, man. And you mentioned briefly that you had worked in marketing and then you had gone into like the tech sales space. Like what type of stuff were you focused on at the marketing job back then?
Absolutely, that's a really good question. So, as far as marketing job considered, it was a classic agency model where you would get local clients, local businesses that you would help with their. It was more of like an everything under the umbrella. You do website branding,
Mm.
automation, everything. So it wasn't very niche down.
Yeah.
Um, and from this, what I've been doing currently, it's better at scale because automation inherently helps you scale up faster than a classic agency model.
Mm.
So that was the core difference between where I started and that's what I learned versus what I want to do right now.
Totally, yeah, totally makes sense. I'm sure you picked up a ton though in regards to what worked for them systems wise, like what they were doing for clients. And I guess also just stuff that you found interesting because they were doing so much.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the biggest key takeaway from that job was mostly sales as well as relationship building. So
Yeah.
shaking hands with entrepreneurs and understanding how the business world works. That was the first introduction in that industry and sphere of entrepreneurship. And yeah, it's been serving well since then.
Yeah. I mean, that's a big thing that I've said to you pretty much every time we talk. Like every week that we touch base, you're like, oh, met these three new people. I'm like, how do you meet all these people? It's like you do seem to have that knack. I've said a few times for just meeting people, networking, comes up in conversation, the stuff you're doing, and people just seem to want to work with you often.
Yeah, I try my best. I try my best.
Okay, so you were doing the marketing stuff, so you kind of got exposure to everything. You went to the sales, and it sounds like that's also really helped hone that skill of speaking to people, reach out, things like that. Which also that's one thing you've been really good with so far. It's just that consistency of messaging, not really caring what type of responses you're going to get from people, just like put in the volume, put in the work. What got you interested about the actual automation side of stuff, like the actual Zapier work, these type of systems, things?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. And I had a chance to revisit that decision about a few weeks ago is what made me attracted to automation. Why did we end up working together or getting mentorship from you? Was
Mm.
biggest reason was partly influenced by taking some courses online, just going through the YouTube rabbit hole around what business should I start,
Yeah.
and something with automation that really attracted me towards that career or industry is that number one, it's remote, so that way I wouldn't need to be in a physical office
Yeah.
do stuff, so that way I can enjoy and do things that I want to do, which is travel, help out my mom, as well as just be independent of location, no matter
Mm.
where or who I'm helping. And I think that was the biggest attractive point for me in terms of automation. And seeing from your personal day-to-day life, you can travel as well. So it was like the perfect mentor that I could look for in terms of just someone who's already living the dream.
Yeah, appreciate that. It sounds like you were doing a lot of learning though on your own quite successfully, like watching courses, getting understanding of what models there were. Why did you want to get a mentor as opposed to just keep on doing that essentially yourself?
Absolutely. I think I have gone into the flow of taking courses very often in the past.
Mm.
And I always had that shiny object syndrome
Mm.
that, hey, this might be the best next alternative, drop shipping, Amazon FBA, all those crazy things you hear
Yeah,
about on
they do
the
always
internet.
seem fun though.
They always seem fun. And I've tried all of them. I've tried Amazon Kindle, I've tried FBA, drop shipping, everything.
Mm.
But what is different this time and how this is more serious is because these courses provide you the right path, sure, the step by step,
Yeah.
but you do not have the right support as well as the accountability that you need.
Mm.
I think that's a game changer, because if it wasn't for a mentor like yourself or anyone else to keep me accountable,
Mm.
I it's just input, input, input. And with our meetings, it provided us with an opportunity to have actions behind those inputs. That, okay,
Mm.
you've learned this, these are the next actions that you need to do. And overall, that proved to be uh, very clean and clear in kickstarting my entire business. Because if I didn't take that action, it would have just been knowledge that I would have acquired.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that it's like you can just keep accumulating knowledge, but it's not just that. Because I remember our first sessions were quite focused on like what are the technical things? Like let's go through some of the tech stuff that you might not have realized or you weren't as strong as that I thought was quite important. But very quickly we got through that stuff and just started to become focused on what are the actions, make sure we're staying on the right path. And yeah, it turned more like the business stuff quicker than just the technical stuff. Because like you can learn that stuff quickly enough, but then it's like you're saying, staying on track, accountability, not getting shiny object syndrome, things like that.
Yes, yes. And plus, one thing that you said stuck around with me really well was that with the automation side of things, with the automation side of things, sure, you can learn it in a few days, but there's always your support on a day that I get stuck.
Mm.
And that way I can go out to you, but rather we made some good ground on developing the business rather than just focusing on automation theory, theory, theory. So for next client that I have, maybe advanced automation that's coming in, then I can always get your support or rely
Mm.
on you to kind of remove the blockers that I have, instead of just teaching me everything and then I don't make any progress business wise.
Yeah, it's like you want to learn. I can't remember who said it, but it's learning just in time. Like learn things as you actually need them, as opposed to just learn everything and then you're like, well, I know all the stuff now, but when I'm actually going to use the type of thing, or you forget it by the time you actually do even need it.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my old mentors, Peter, he gave me this really cool piece of advice, was that get paid to learn. That way, just get the clients to say, or rather help them to sell the solution, as well as learn what you can help them do, and then
Mm.
do it together with them, but also being very honest with them. And hey, this is my first rodeo or first thing. and I want to learn it together. Hence, it's at a discounted price or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, that's a big learning I've had just for myself as well, is like manage expectations, like just be upfront. Like there's always, if you're starting something new, like for me, I'm also going into a new venture a little bit now. It's like being honest with the one client. They're like, hey, this is a new thing for me, but we have a bit of trust. Like, are you happy for me to just kind of give this a go and we'll see how it goes? And they're like, yeah, sure. Just like being honest up front and set those expectations. You're like, hey, I'm also potentially learning here, but we can try and make it work for each other.
Absolutely, absolutely, 100%. I think honesty is the biggest road or the biggest core of a good business relationship.
Yeah.
And once you have that established, then it's just gala time from there.
Yeah. So obviously, like working together, we've been doing this for almost like 3 months now, 4 months potentially.
Yeah, about 10, 11 weeks, I would say.
Yeah, quite a bit of time. So it's obviously been a big time investment from your side. Did you have any concerns before we started working together? Like maybe things you didn't even voice to me or mention to me?
Yeah, I would say the only concern that I had was not in your abilities, but in my, um, shiny object syndrome. So my,
Yeah.
I don't know what the word is. It's like doing something for a very long time, consistency rather.
Yeah.
So for my consistency, I was scared. This is the first time I don't have something to follow up on my full-time job. So
Yeah.
I had to call in. And I was scared in terms of like, hey, now I have Gavin helping me out week after week. So now I have to show results or I have to perform
Yeah.
because I don't, number one, let you down. And plus, it comes back on my integrity that what if I just quit this in the middle of our collaboration? What will Gavin think? So
Yeah.
that way, it also helped me continue the progress and make progress week after week.
Yeah.
So now I'm at a situation where I have a beautiful couple of case studies that I can use to leverage and grow my business overall.
Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned that you were still worried about your own consistency, even working with someone. Like in my mind, if I was going to work with someone, I mean, I wouldn't expect it to be part of their responsibility, but I would kind of assume a little bit that they're going to keep me, well, one of their goals is to keep me consistent. So if they see me lacking or whoever someone's working with is like lacking, they're like, hey, you need to get back onto this. Like you're not going to get the results you want if you don't. It's just interesting that you came from it, like you were still concerned that your consistency would kind of fall as opposed to it being on their responsibility.
Yeah, I think it comes like people say a clap is done with two hands, is because I can only see it a successful relationship because you've been putting in the time. And if I fall off, and a lot of people do, they
Mm.
start things and they're not consistent. And that's what I've seen with myself in the past as well, is if it's not mutual and if both people aren't putting in the equal effort, then no matter if you're Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk teaching you, then you have to reflect back on yourself as well that, hey, do you really want this? Number one,
Yeah.
how bad do you want this? Those are the kind of two filters that you want to have for yourself to not let other people down or hamper any expectations.
That totally makes sense. You actually just reminded me of times that I've like paid substantial amounts of money to people to get mentorship or support or whatever. And you kind of get that initial bit of excitement or dopamine at the start of like, yeah, we're on like a new venture, kind of like shiny object syndrome. And then even though you've paid them a ton of cash potentially, or you've put a lot of time in, you're like, okay, I got the excitement now, and you kind of like start to fall away as the client. Like I've experienced that from my side as well. Now that you mention it,
Yeah, and yeah, absolutely, and it's a learning experience overall.
yeah,
So when you have that situation, yeah, like you said, it's like shiny object. Ooh, I got a new mentor. Yes, this guy's gonna teach me the way of life, and I'm gonna achieve nirvana at the end of the year. What mostly ends up happening is that
yeah,
dies down, and it's only discipline as well as it's daily habits that get you there.
yeah,
And once you achieve that, you're golden.
yeah, totally. So after we got started, we had a kind of like a bit of an onboarding session. We obviously got to know each other a bit better. Like, how did you kind of find those first couple of weeks, like the flow of it? Like, were you kind of having some big realizations or learnings or anything like that?
Yep, the first two meetings were essentially just getting to know each other, establishing trust because we're strangers across the world,
Yeah.
haven't met each other before, so see how we both work together. And I think the first two were just building that, asking about the background, asking about where I want to be, as well as that was all coming from you,
Yeah.
where I want to be, what do I want to achieve, and what's the right strategy to get to that. So
Mm.
the strategy, which is if you build a house, you need to have the foundations first, then you can make the house prettier after.
Yeah.
So you help set up those foundations. And the meetings after, I would say 3, 4, 5 is when we actually started auditing on where you are right now in terms of the core skills of automation
Mm.
and what's missing. And the homework assignments that you gave me, as well as the resources that you gave me, kind of kick-started my learning or reduced my learning curve to about half,
Mm.
because now I knew that with the weekly check-in, I need to plan this homework out in the rest of the week. So
Yeah.
that way by next week, I have a very clear either set of questions that I'm stuck on or certain learnings that I have acquired in this past week.
Yeah, totally makes sense. And I must say, I mean, I don't want to stroke your ego at all, but like I've said quite a few times, every time we kind of talk between sessions, you seem to have like done a lot of work. You've either done a lot of outreach or you've like smashed through like the homework assignments, or you've like been like really in deep, increasing like your technical skills. I mean, why do you think that you kind of are like that? I don't know, like what drives you to actually just like get all the stuff done between calls, do the outreach, take the initiative? Because not everyone has that, to be honest.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I would say the only thing that's driving me right now, and I can only see it from my personal beliefs, is that I've quit a lot of times in my life.
Mm.
That hey, let's start this business venture. Talk to my friend about this idea.
Yeah.
But one thing that I realized from just knowledge, listening to people's mentors, books, reading a lot more now, is that if you don't stick to the boring stuff for long enough, you won't get results. And this seems like the best opportunity that I've had in the past, where I
Mm.
have a mentor, I have the right support system, I have the right situation in life, and uh, age-wise, I'm young, so that way I can take these risks. And I'm giving myself like, hey, if 2 years, if I mess this up for the next 2 years, then that's fine. I'm still 27. I can still get back.
Yeah.
Or 5 years even. I'm still 30. I can still get back to a job.
Yeah.
But if I waste this time right now, then I won't be able to kind of look back and say, oh, I wish I did try. So
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing, keeping myself accountable, is having the ability to be able to take risk and try it out.
Yeah.
And if it fails, it's a learning. It's not a failure. And if I win, I win. Good.
Yeah. Yeah. As you're saying, like every one of those experiences, like you said, oh, I've quit a bunch of things in the past. But in my opinion, there's a difference between just quitting because like you're like, oh, I'm bored, I'm just going to quit, versus you're quitting because you realize it's really not the right fit or you really don't enjoy it. But you still take the lessons away. You're still learning at every step of it, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. And yeah, those are definitely lessons around entrepreneurship. But I don't know what that graph was. Is there's like a graph which says this is optimistically realistic, pessimistically optimistic, all that stuff. So when you hit that downturn, it's like,
Mm.
damn, this is harder than I thought. It's not as light.
Yeah.
That's the point where most people quit. And I think right now for this business, I've gone through that and I'm going on the upward trajectory where it's more realistic optimism that I know it's going to take me about 3 6 months to build this business to the dollar value or the goal that I'm trying to reach,
Yeah.
which is perfect because for every other business, I quit at the bottom. Now I'm back on the upward trajectory.
Yeah, totally. I think it was Alex Hormozy who said it in a video I came across the other week. It was like if he knew how much was involved in like starting your own business, doing your own thing, it's like he probably would have just not started, because like you
Yeah.
don't realize how much there actually is until you get started, type of thing.
Yeah. Yes. 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 Yeah. So it's been serving me decently so far.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like for you, a big benefit of having the mentorship and someone to hold you accountable was that you're like, okay, the next 4 months, it's kind of like, this is decided, this is what I'm doing. I can't really jump onto something else. Is that kind of right?
Absolutely, yes. And I do enjoy traveling. So I'm traveling in end of October, entire November, next April.
Hmm.
So it'll be hard for me to get a job if I'm for months and months. So with this thing, I think I've set my mindset on this is what I want to do, and all it needs is my laptop as well as my Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So people Wi-Fi money. And so yeah, so I think for the next 4 or 5 months, this is not rather 4 or 5 months, for the next 2 years, this is the path that I want to take, and whatever it takes, honestly, to make my to get to that goal. And yeah, that's what I've decided. No quitting, no holding back. Definitely, there's going to be some downturns, some experiences, which
Hmm.
I'm prepared for mentally as well as physically. So I'm optimistic, realistic, and just happy about having the courage to start this.
Yeah. But so far, yeah, you've been getting great results. You've been bringing on the case study clients. You've also gotten some of them great results with like um, some of their automated systems and outreach and things like that. I think people will find the types of businesses you decide to focus on quite interesting. Can you just like tell people a little bit how you ended up in that?
Oh, for sure, for sure. So people talk about niche, like, oh, what's your niche? Money's in the niches. And so I was so confused with the first 2 months. I overworked myself, be like, hey man, what's my niche? Do I help real estate agents? Do I help small businesses? The classic niches.
Yeah,
Then one day I was like, oh, well, I don't know what's happening. I'm scrolling through my Instagram, and I knew I wanted to help local businesses, but what kind of local business can
yeah,
I help? Um, Scrolling through my Instagram, I have a bunch of tattoos. So I saw my tattoo artist saying, hey, oh, actually, I saw my tattoo artist running Facebook ads.
yeah,
I'm like, I know you. You see the value in marketing, sales, and automation. You want to get new clients, which is what I'm helping them now. And I just quickly texted her. It's like, hey, starting this new venture. Since you're my tattoo artist, I saw that you posted a Instagram ad. Want me to help you out at a discounted rate or a very very low rate. And then she was like, oh, why are you reaching out to me? I just gave you a tattoo. I was like, I was starting a business. Hey, I know this might be hard for you. You have family and everything. Let me help you out.
yeah,
And if we get results together, then we'll talk about business. Or all I need is just a nice case study from you. She's like, okay, fine, let's get it started. So it was actually a tattoo studio locally, a person that I knew, and I started working with her. So set up her systems, automations, clients, a client acquisition machine, and everything in the back end from her existing database. And that's how I found the first tattoo artist. Then I'm like, okay, well, my system helps her with payments, SMS, email, all of that stuff.
hmm,
Now let me see if I can get another tattoo artist with the same pitch. So I created a nice template, very standard, and be like, hey, these are services that you need. I reached out to another tattoo artist here in Montreal, Canada, and he was like, well, this sounds great. I went, huh, interesting. This guy also loves what I like.
yeah.
So now, with the industry that I'm working with are tattoo artists, and I'm helping them get more clients.
Yeah, dude. I think it must. I mean, I could just be guessing here, but I must think it's your background also in marketing and you worked in sales. That I mean, the fact that you just like saw that opportunity, you were like, hey, let me just reach out. Like a lot of people might have been like, oh no, I need to have it perfectly dialed in with my message or whatever. But you were like, oh no, I know this person. Let me just put it out there, just to kind of see what happens.
Yeah. Actually, I would credit most of that to you. Is remember in our fourth, fifth meeting, we had you show me one of your Facebook conversations with a dude,
Mm.
and it was like you did like a soft pitch, and there was like a pitch ball GIF there. He's like, "Hey man, love the work that you're doing," and you reached out to him, so that gave me an idea. It's just people are people,
Yeah.
and if you make it too salesy, people can sniff it.
Mm.
But if you come forward with honesty as well as just straightforwardness, like, "Hey man, this is what I've been helping with," and come with a genuine feeling of being able to help them rather than quote unquote get money.
Yeah.
Of course, nothing wrong with being charging for what you're worth, and I'm getting there slowly. So that gave me an idea that hey, it's just a person. They're doing what they want to do, and any other small business wants to do is
Hmm.
get clients. And if I can help them, then that's perfect.
Yeah. No, for me, from my side, I think you've had a lot of the really solid mindsets, which has helped just kind of get things done. It's like you're really just on top of things. You really don't kind of like, what's the word, procrastinate too much from what I can see. And it's been really cool to see from my side because every week you bring something new and exciting that we can kind of refine or we'll kind of discuss further. It's not like, oh, it's the same thing from last week. It's like, okay, got this new problem. Now we got the client. We did a whole bunch of campaigns. How can we improve it? How can we increase open rates? Like all that type of stuff. It's makes it also more fun and more exciting for me as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it really helps dials back down to having the right support system. Is when you come home, you came from school, you got your report card. You're
Yeah.
like, Dad, look, I got A plus, B plus. So if you don't have that dad, then you'll just sit with the report card. You can't improve, you can't do anything. But if dad's there, he'll be like, man, why'd you get B plus? Let's start working A plus. Or, damn, bro, you got F. Okay, let's get at least C plus next time.
I
So
could,
it's that small kind of gradually improving. So
yeah, I could have made such a easy daddy joke there, but I kind of held back on it. Um, but I think this definitely your journey is going to inspire a lot of people. Just like I said, your mindset's around like you just saw these opportunities of like, oh, people I know, let me reach out to them every week. Like you're pushing on things. Just the fact that you're getting stuff done, and like that's what's led to a lot of your big growths. Just before we start wrapping up, I would say like if you could kind of tell yourself something from like 4 months ago, like would you have done anything differently or what would you tell yourself now?
hmm. One thing that I would have told myself 4 months ago is be prepared to get a lot of no's and get rejected, and it's fine.
Yeah.
Because a rule of people is that some people are going to love what you're selling, some people are going to be neutral about what you're selling, some people are going to hate you for what you're selling,
Mm,
and it's fine. It's people, don't take it too personally. I had to learn that because every time we're like, no, sorry, I don't want to do this. Then I went back and questioned myself, like,
yeah.
hey, my sales pitch was wrong. Did I say something wrong, or did something happen? So you're in your head trying to make those scenarios,
Yeah.
but in the reality of things, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's people. You can't expect them to act the way you want to do. All you can do is show them the right path, and if it speaks to them, they will opt in. So I think
Totally.
that's and be okay with no and just don't take it personally. So that's yours.
Totally. And if you do start to see some of the like a lot of the same responses over like quite a big volume of people, then you can maybe start thinking like
Sure.
maybe I should look at this a little bit. But if it's just one person to one person, then it's like say you just kind of like let it roll off your back and keep on going.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome, man. Just want to thanks again for the time. I mean, this has been cool talking about your journey. I think it will inspire a lot of other people. Any closing thoughts or anything you'd like to mention at the end?
Yeah, just grateful for you, Gavin, in terms of time that you've put in, effort that you've put in, and how you were always available. If I had any winning streak to share, or or any questions that I had over the week before our call, so I think that was a very comforting feeling to have, as well as feeling confident in my abilities that, hey, if I mess up today, at least I have Gavin, who's going to be like, hey, I got A plus.
I got you, man. We got to find those wins every time.
Absolutely. Go on a winning streak.
And if anyone wants to reach out to you, if they've got questions, or maybe they're a tattoo person, they want to get some help, what's the best way for people to contact you?
Yeah, I would just say go to my website. It's monsulting.com. That's consulting, replace C with M, monsulting.com, www.monsulting.com. And book a time with me, 15 minutes on the calendar, so we can chat more on where you are at your business, how can I help, and if it even seems fit for both of us to start getting you new clients automatically, as well as realistically.
Love it, man. Thanks a lot.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Gavin. Chat soon.